It's funny. It's funny, and because I remember when I joined the gym for the first time, and one of the big guys in the gym told me, like, "Hey," he told me, "Arnold used steroids." I punch him. I punch him right away.
You
I said,
didn't
"You
want to hear
cannot talk
that.
like that about my idol. You
Mhm.
just cannot."
I don't think I want to hear this.
Hey guys, welcome to part two of my interview with Alexander Nevsky, aka the Russian Arnold Schwarzenegger. Make sure to check out part one, linked in the description below, where he talks about how he broke into Hollywood. Really cool, inspiring story. Anyway, in part two, we're going to do a fun Q&A. We're also going to talk about natural bodybuilding, action movies, a bunch of other cool stuff. Oh, and check out his new movie, by the way. It's called Gunfight at Rio Bravo. You could get the physical DVD copy linked in the description below, or just stream it. Some pretty cool gunfights in that one. It's a Western film, his first one. He's really proud of it. One thing I do want to point out, by the way, because we're talking about bodybuilding and working out, which I love to do, make sure to follow my Instagram, Real Viking Samurai, because you're going to see more of my training. I'm cutting up. I'm going to lose that extra 5 to 10 pounds so I can really kind of get that Rambo physique going. Obviously, I got to get the tan too. But to help aid in my recovery from these hardcore, strenuous workouts, there's really only one supplement brand that I would recommend because they manufactured in the US, highest quality ingredients. They got a mission statement, a great brand, and I completely support that. Post workout, to get adequate recovery so you can really kill it the next workout, you guys want to get a simple carb that refills your glycogen, something that doesn't refill the liver glycogen, but rather the muscle glycogen, because there's a difference. So you need dextrose, not something like fructose or anything like that. And a quality whey protein. And you want to make sure it's manufactured with a low temperature and cross-flow microfiltered. Otherwise, it's just garbage. Like Ion Exchange whey protein, for example. They literally use hydrochloric acid in the process and it degrades the protein. It's junk. They used to market that big in the 90s. I think some companies might still because it sounds fancy, but no. You need CFM, cross-flow microfiltered. You need it manufactured ideally in America. I do not trust some of these other countries. So check that out. Linked in the description below. It'll take you to the About page so you can actually learn about the company, get your confidence, and they offer 110% money back guarantee. So they more than believe in the products, and so do I. And I know this stuff can help aid in your recovery for workouts. Obviously, they got other supplements too. Anyway, let's get on to that interview. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you. So you did actually work with a lot of these cool old school martial arts action guys like Don Wilson, Mark Dacascos, Matthias Hughes, Olivia Grinner. Is there anybody that you really had wanted to work with but haven't had a chance to work with yet?
Oh yeah, there's two names I already mentioned: Ralph Mueller and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
And that's my dream to have them both
Mhm.
in a movie. And you know me a little bit now, and you probably given me chance to achieve it one day because I'm always, if I have something in mind, I will always find a way. But that, I mean, would be amazing dream project for me to have Arnold and Ralph. And believe it or not, mm, it can be a Western. It can be a Western. And Ralph already told me that he'll be happy to be in a Western with me. And Arnold will be the first one he was the first one who watched the trailer for Gunfight
Oh.
even before we finished the movie. And Ralph is in Germany right now, and I think Arnold is traveling as well. As
Mhm.
soon as they back to LA, I will organize a screening for them because they both huge Western lovers. They just love Western. And
Nice.
talking about Gunfight at Rio Bravo for a second, again, for me, this thing, it was so new and so fresh because I never can imagine myself in a Western. I never rode a horse. I never shot like real Western guns
Mhm.
or something like that. I never did. But as I told you in the beginning, I was very lucky because Joe Cornette, he explained it to me everything. And let me tell you, with all due respect, because I worked with Walter Hill on Undisputed, I worked
Yeah.
with Sofia Coppola in Somewhere, I worked with Andrzej Bartkowiak on Maximum Impact. I work with independent directors. I work with award-winning directors like Stuart Cooper, who did Magic Man with
Mhm.
me and Stuart. He won Berlin Film Festival twice. I work with Mark Dacascos, who did a great job as a director on Showdown in Manila, which was
Sure.
uh, his first experience in directing and whatever. And they all were great. But Joe Cornette is the best director I ever worked with because He's actor himself, and he really knows how to deal with you as an actor, just to make you comfortable, just to make you as professional as possible. And in that film, especially if you compare it to the other films which I was doing, I mean, I love them all. Don't get me wrong, I love them all, but I think Gunfight at Rio Bravo is my best movie if we talk about performance, if we talk about action, if we talk about atmosphere, whatever. And thanks to Joe, right now I'm a huge fan of westerns. I'm a huge fan of spaghetti westerns, and it's a completely new world for me. And the funny thing you mentioned before, when you were talking about, like, you have to work hard and all of that, you're absolutely right. But of course, there has to be a talent.
Oh,
there has
of
to
course,
be talent, right? But to your point, and I like it about English language, because it's you guys have a lot of great things in the language. I know what you're saying. You're saying, like, hard work beats talent. Hard work
people
beats
say that,
talent.
and yeah, there's an argument to be made. It's important to have both. At least have a little bit of talent and a lot of hard work.
I know. Of course, but there's always, like, when hard work meets talent, it's a different story.
Oh yeah.
But let's talk about bodybuilding just for a second, right? Because Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's a genius in bodybuilding. He's just a genius.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
not just a champion. He's not just like a 7-time Mr. Olympia or whatever. No. He's a genius in bodybuilding, because, I mean, he was amazing. He's still amazing in the gym, like, every morning. It doesn't matter what country. It doesn't matter what time is it. He will be in the gym every morning. And his example pushed the world, whole freaking world, into that direction.
Oh yeah.
Be healthier, to be stronger. So he's a genius. You cannot repeat what Arnold did, because it was his life. It was his way to doing things. Ralph Miller is the same thing, because Ralph was a genius bodybuilder. He was the tallest bodybuilder. He was the biggest Mr. Olympia competitor. He was Mr. Universe. He was world champion. He was just an amazing bodybuilder, genius bodybuilder. Me, I always had a talent, but I wasn't a genius, and I knew that. I was really skinny when I started. Look at that. Just look at that. Just show it. This kid, that's me. You know?
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Future action star. Yeah. No one would ever guess.
Exactly. And I was ready to work hard, and I knew that, yeah, my idols are geniuses. Me, I have enough talent to do whatever I want to do. And that's an approach you have to have, because Bruce Lee, he wasn't like 7 times world champion martial artist. He wasn't huge or whatever. He looked like a regular guy, especially in the clothes. But because of the training, he became amazing in what he was doing, because of his desire to be on screen, and talent, of course, and everything else. He became a movie star who also pushed the world to accept Asian martial arts and Asian actors and Asian stars and all of that. So what I'm trying to say that it doesn't matter where you start at your starting point. It doesn't matter if people think you have talent or not, because you will never know if you don't try hard. And if you do, you will always have a chance to achieve it. You know, that's an amazing thing. You agree?
Oh, 100%. Like, with the fitness and the weightlifting, bodybuilding, and martial arts, like, I'll tell anybody, you know, whether you have the potential to be Michael Jordan or Mike Tyson or Arnold Schwarzenegger, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, every single person, regardless of your age, can make improvement, and that you really compete against yourself with martial arts, with bodybuilding and everything. It's like, that's your main competitor, is to become a better version of yourself in the future. That's the main thing. And then when you're a better version of yourself, you have that confidence and you develop yourself where you could do great things in the world.
You're absolutely right. And by the way, let me give a plug to that book, because this is three more reps. Oh yeah, The Golden Age of Bodybuilding by George Snyder and Rick Wayne, who was a great bodybuilder himself. And look at that. This is 40 years anniversary edition, and I'm right
That's
here.
you.
Oh, that's me. And this is Arnold, and that's Matthias, and Rick Wayne is right here. So that's a great book, which based on like real advices of all these people. Because George Snyder, the author, he spoke to Arnold when Arnold was a competitive bodybuilder. He spoke to Franco Colombo. He spoke to Frank Zane. He wrote it down. So people who will read 3 More Reps, and again, this is 40-year anniversary edition. So that book was published for decades. And right now there's a chapter about me in the book as well. But again, what I'm saying is everyone can get bigger muscles. You just should go to the gym, get nice advice, and start. And this is the same thing about film career. Same exact thing. Everyone can do that. Everyone can achieve, the wildest dream. But you have to start. You have to do something. And if you have a strategy, it's much easier to achieve.
Yeah, like everybody is suitable for specific roles. Like not everybody necessarily should play certain roles, but everybody can play something that they're suitable for naturally. So if they want to be an actor, there's a role out there that's really perfect for them, right? There really is.
Yes.
But going back to bodybuilding real quick, and I do want to point out, because I respect this, because I've always stayed natural my whole life, but you're a natural bodybuilder as well, right?
Oh yeah, and I think that's another secret, because unfortunately there's so many people who are ready to live by those words like get big or die trying.
And then they're in their 40s and they're dying, right? These people who took all those drugs back in the day.
Unfortunately, because again, bodybuilding is a great thing. It's just and we easily can talk about that about film business as well, because you have to be careful. You have to be careful with what you're doing, because it's not about just get the big biceps. It's not about to get a couple of acting gigs. It's about your life. It's about being happy. It's about being able to take care of not just of yourself, but also, you have people who you love, and all that, your family and all of that. And I think everyone should try to be a good example for others in a good way. And talking about professional bodybuilding, and I never competed in the United States. I competed only in Europe. There's so many great professional and amazing bodybuilders, especially now when you check social media. There's so many of them, and doing like a correct lighting and all of that just to get bigger and get look better and all of that. I think Arnold showed everyone that bodybuilding, it's not just to get big muscles. It's about next step, as I said. It's a next step to great life. And it doesn't matter if you want to be, I don't know, if you want to be a movie star, or you want to be a painter, or you want to be a doctor, or you want to be whatever. If you're stronger, if you believe in yourself more, it's much easier to achieve. But as soon as you start to think only about your muscles, only about how do you look in the mirror. Again, if you're one of those 20 people who would compete for Mr. Olympia, or another 30 who would compete for Mr. Universe in Europe, it's okay. If you're doing it professionally and whatever, we're not talking about that. But for hundreds and thousands of people who unfortunately are ready, to hurt themselves with all the drugs. And right now, David, it's an open information. Maybe 50 years ago, people who tried it, they didn't know. They didn't know if it will hurt them or not, kind of like with cigarettes, right? 50 years ago, it was fashionable. No one really paid attention to the danger, whatever. Now everyone understands, if you smoke cigarettes, more chances for you to get cancer. As easy as this. And now it's your decision, but it's easy as this. Same thing. People who used anabolic steroids, they just endanger. They endanger themselves. And if they're ready to do it, it's fine. But unfortunately, if I talk about kids, like teenagers, right? And they don't even think about bodybuilding. They think about American football or something like that, just to get big or whatever. They really can do it without drugs. You really can get bigger. Look at you. You
Oh
in
man,
great shape
I was this
yourself.
big at 16 in high school, man. Pretty much like and
Exactly.
that was after about 2, 3 years of lifting, man. So the gains will come, but
Exactly.
then they do tend to stall out.
Yeah, I'm sure if you start to eat more, if you start to trade more and just decided to dedicate more time for that, you will get bigger. Just
There's
you
a
don't
lot
need
of
it at the moment.
potential with what people can do natural. There's definitely is for sure. Like I'm about 190 right now, pretty good leanness. My goal is more to get like more ripped, like so I could look like Rambo, maybe drop about 10 pounds. But if I wanted to, I could easily jump up to 210 and not lose that much definition. I
Exactly.
could easily do that,
Exactly.
changing my workout, my diet, but I want to get more of that Rambo look going instead.
Plus, you're doing all the martial arts, right? You're doing all the
Yeah, that's
cardio. You're
true. I
doing
like to be physical and athletic and having that extra size on my frame because I'm more like Stallone or Van Damme's frame. I'm not a giant like you. I'm 5'9". You're like 6'6",
and everyone wanna look like you, not like me. Not many people want to look like giants or whatever. They want to look like you. Van Damme, remember him? He was amazing. He looked like a bodybuilder,
Oh, sure.
but he moved and everything without
Oh,
any
yeah.
cables or whatever. He was doing amazing things, and I
Amazing.
think he still does because
Hmm.
he's just amazing guy. There's no questions about it. So yes, and I think you're absolutely right. All of that should be for your health, not
Health
just
first. That's
for
what I
the
always
one
promote.
moment in the mirror or whatever. It should be about your health, and
Hmm.
it should be about marathon. It should be about
Yeah, longevity because it's a lifestyle. Like
longevity.
for me, it just made sense to even though like when I was growing up, I wanted to be a professional bodybuilder, but then after I realized from reading Muscle Media 2000 with Bill Phillips that all these guys were taking all that stuff, it's like that never interested me because the gym and the martial arts kind of kept me away from drugs. Like it kept me on a good path. So it just kind of seemed weird if I would end up taking drugs pursuing something that kept me on the straight and narrow.
It's funny. It's funny, and because I remember when I joined the gym for the first time, and one of the big guys in the gym told me, like, "Hey," he told me, "Arnold used steroids." I punch him. I punch him right away.
You
I said,
didn't
"You
want to hear
cannot talk
that.
like that about my idol. You
Mhm.
just cannot."
I don't think I want to hear this.
And of course, when Arnold and the guys from Golden Age tried something back then, again, no one really knew about real danger.
Mhm.
And Arnold was one of the first ones who started with doping control and his Arnold Classic and everything else. And he was really open about that and danger and all that. It just, right now, it's freaking 21st century, David. And I think unfortunately, there's so many crazy things happening right now in the world. So I think we should be healthier. We
Oh,
should be
definitely.
stronger. We
Yeah.
shouldn't put ourselves in extra danger or something. And bodybuilding, again, it's an amazing thing. And you know that. And everyone who goes to the gym without any steroids, whatever, just to go to the gym, just get some pump. Just eat well, just feel strength in your
Mhm.
muscles. I mean, what can be better? What can
It's
be
it's
better?
it's
I mean,
great. Obviously, the physical aspect, but just for mental health. Like I'm gonna go work out after we're done talking, and just it's
me too. Me too, by the
it's
way. Me
therapy. Oh,
too.
good. I wish I was in
Oh,
California. We
yeah.
train together, man. But
Yes,
it's just good for your mental health too. It's therapy. It really is. It really is.
for sure.
And hey, let me just ask you one more thing though, because and I'm sure you've heard this, and people will so you have something in common with Arnold as far as like the Mr. Universe titles, but then there's like people will question that. Can you just provide a little clarity? Like, what was this with a different organization, or was it related to the Mr. Universe Arnold one, or was it just something different in Europe, or what?
Arnold won, I think, 3 or 4 titles in NABA Federation,
Okay,
which was
yeah.
the biggest European federation at the time. In the end of '90s, NABA split up,
Oh,
and
they did.
there's NABA International, and there's World Bodybuilding Federation, which was organized by vice president of original NABA, Edmundas Dalbaras, and it was him who invited me to participate about 12 years ago, and that's where I competed. And I competed drug free,
Oh,
and I
that's
won
cool.
for 3 years since 2010, 2011, and 2012. And what I did over there, I tried to use all that sudden fame I got again as a bodybuilder, because I was already doing movies.
Yeah, sure.
You know, that I tried to use it for the right example, that everyone can get big muscles. You don't need steroids for that. And again, it's not even about the title. It's about your step. It's about your next step. And me personally, by the way, it was kind of like a break I was taking in between movies. It was in between of Magic Man and Black Rose. And I knew I have to spend more time in Europe anyways, so why not? And after that, I started to do movies again. But as I told you, and as you just mentioned, you will go to the gym right away, and I'll go to the gym. Look at that. That's it. That's another bodybuilder right there. What's
He's,
his
I'm gonna
name?
take him to the gym with me.
I mean, he's amazing. And you know what? I also have like a little brother, Chihuahua, named Shrek, and he lives with my mom. Chihuahua. So you have a cat, I have a Chihuahua.
That's funny. That's funny. Hey, let's this movie, Gunfight at Rio Bravo. So, and I noticed the end credits were quite interesting because I guess it was inspired by a true story of a Russian, I think he was a colonel or something. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was an amazing real life story. But Russian immigrant John Basil Turchin, actually his name was Ivan Turchaninov when he immigrated from Russia to the United States, and it was right before the Civil War. And he was professional military. He was a colonel in Russian Imperial Guards and all that. And that's why when he joined the Union Army, they gave him like regiment right away, and he became a colonel of Union Army. And by the end of the war, he was promoted to brigadier general by Lincoln himself.
Wow.
He had some dark secrets, which we kind of touched in Gunfight at Rio Bravo. But the funny thing is, so many people who watched Gunfight and probably thought, like, hey, Russian at the Wild West? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
but
so I was thinking when I
have
first
all
seen
that.
it, I was questioning, like, that's weird.
Exactly. But in the end, when we have all that real information about the guy, I think for a lot of people it's fascinating. But yes, there was like a real Russian. I don't know if he was a superhero, but I'm sure it wasn't easy to get from Russia to America and be able to to repeat a career and being promoted to brigadier general by Lincoln and being all the history books. So it's inspired by a real amazing life story. Yes.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And you mentioned this is your first Western, and it seems like you're really in love with this genre and going to do more. But
Oh yeah.
how'd you get involved though? Like, did the director say, "Hey, I got this," or how'd you get involved in this project?
I was introduced to Joe by Sean Murray, who's a great composer. He wrote music for Call of Duty games.
Oh,
By
wow.
the way,
Okay,
Call of
that's
Duty
huge. Yeah.
games, and also for a lot of studio releases like Deep Blue Sea, with all that sharks and whatever. But also Sean wrote music for 5 of my films, including Maximum Impact and Black Rose. And Sean introduced me to Joe because Sean wrote the music for Joe's previous Western, Promise, which also amazing, available on Prime Video, Promise. And Sean told me that I should meet with Joe and should talk about doing movie together, Western together. And I said, Sean, look at me. Where am I and where's Western? I mean, come on. I said, no, Alexander, just meet up with Joe and talk to him. And I did. And as I told you, and I will repeat it, Joe Carnett, he's an amazing guy. He's an amazing guy. Maybe one day you'll talk to him yourself because he's like encyclopedia of spaghetti westerns, classic action movies, classic horror movies. Because after we made Gunfight, we shot Gunfight in 2021. In 2022, we shot another movie together. We already shot a sequel to Gunfight, which called Taken from Rio Bravo. And by the way, there's Don Dragon Wilson in it. There's Cynthia Rothrock in it. So now they also, you will see.
I've seen pictures of him posting that on Facebook. So that's a sequel to this film. That's interesting.
Exactly. So you will see Dragon and Cynthia in the Western now with me. And it just, it's all an amazing ride. But again, for his credit, it's Joe's achievement. I work hard. And of course, I had some lessons, like shooting and of course riding and all that. But it's his achievement because again, Gunfight at Rio Bravo, in my opinion, is my best movie so far.
Well, maybe until the sequel comes out, right?
Oh yeah, and sequel should be released later this year. So hopefully you will like it, and there will be great action because of the dragon, because of the Cynthia. Art Camacho is our fight
Yeah, he
choreographer and
came
stunt
back, sure.
coordinator again. Yes, so and it's funny how Joe made it because and you saw the film. There are some elements of classic Western, but also there are some elements of classic action. And even my character in the end, I don't even have a hat. I don't have a hat, right? I have my leather jacket and I just shoot them kind of like a Terminator. And it was funny because a lot of reviews are out from the magazines and publications, and most of them they're all great. It's just I remember one of them, and the guy probably he thought that he's writing bad review, and he wrote like, "Hey, they just miscast Turchaninov role because Nevsky, he doesn't look like a Union general. He looks like a Terminator." And it was a greatest compliment. Exactly. So I said to Joe, Joe, we got another great review. It's just another.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out.
Exactly. So it was huge fun, and I just hope I will continue. I will continue to do westerns now. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You should, especially with Arnold and Ralph Mueller, like you said. Let me ask you
Yes, dream
this.
project.
Yeah, that'll be the dream project. Let me ask you this. So, what are your you may have like a handful, maybe if you can name three, like your favorite action films, ideally from the 80s and 90s, the ones that really inspired you the most.
It's very easy. It's very easy because very first one was Conan the Destroyer.
Okay.
Conan the Destroyer. And I was lucky because I watched it on a big screen. I watched it on Moscow Film Festival. It was outside of competition in 1986. Can you imagine someone, it was still Soviet Union, someone brought Conan the Destroyer
Cool.
to Moscow Film Festival. Exactly. So Conan the Destroyer, after that, of course, it was Conan the Barbarian, unpirated video, and it was Commando. When I watched Commando, I mean, they all three, I mean, I can tell you another 30 because, of course, I loved Cobra. I loved.
Oh, I know you love Cobra because when I watched Black Rose, your introduction is exactly like Stallone's in Cobra. The way they shot it, just everything about it. I'm like, that's Cobra, man.
And let me tell you that Black Rose first, it was a big theatrical release in Russia, next USSR, and over there. And I was in different cities even before we opened it international in the United States. And I remember one press conference. There was a guy, and he was kind of like a real film critic, like a skinny, angry, unhappy, whatever. And he told me, Alexander, you have to tell us. You just have to admit that those moments, you know, in a movie when you really, you know, getting out of the car and there's your boot and all of that, you stole it from Sylvester Stallone.
Who the fuck you think you are? He thinks he's Rambo.
You stole it from Cobra. I said, you know what? I said to him, you just hurt me. You just hurt me deeply because you're completely wrong. You're completely wrong. Because when Stallone did it in 1986, Arnold Schwarzenegger stole it from him in 1993 in Last Action Hero. Because if you remember Last Action Hero, there's a boot of Arnold first, right? Before we even see the Arnold. And Steven Seagal stole it from Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1996, because if you remember on Deadly Ground, there's Steven Seagal getting out of the helicopter in a cowboy boot, and there's cowboy boot. And I said, and I stole it from Steven Seagal.
Well, I'm gonna steal it from you someday, man. I'm gonna steal it from you.
Exactly. Yes, he cut me deep, you know. those film critics. But you're absolutely right. Yes, of course. I love all those movies. I named you three because, of course, Arnold was a huge inspiration because he was also a bodybuilder and he was also from Europe, and there were so many things. But of course, after that, when I started to know things about Van Damme and his original films, like Cyborg and Kickboxer and Bloodsport, even before he started to make a studio movies, which I think, what he did with Sheldon Lettich, Double Impact, one of the best action movies with martial arts ever made. And they did, and Michael Douglas was the one who produced it.
Yeah, his
and
company
Sheldon
did.
was
Yeah,
the
that's
one.
amazing.
Exactly. And he had the producer credit, and Sheldon directed it so well. So, and I love them all. The funny thing is, because I'm a member of Hollywood Foreign Press and I work for the Golden Globes, for the last 20 years, I watch all the movies, and I watch all the studio movies, I watch all the independent movies. And as you can imagine, I kind of, right now, I know pretty much everything, not about those films which I really loved as a kid, but about movie industry, in general. But I still, to that day, when I have some free time, I will be so happy to watch Cobra or Conan. Of course, I still have it all on Blu-rays with some, probably like you are, with all the special behind-the-scenes documentaries and interviews and all of that. And I think, as I told you already, we all should keep that spirit alive of those movies, because for some reason, right now, they don't make them much. And I think it's not good at all. With all due respect, all that great, Marvel movies or DC movies and all that huge, entertainment, or some artsy dramas and all that. I think for kids, it's very important to have correct role models, right role models, like real action heroes. Because you probably much younger than me, but still, for your generation, for my generation, it helped us to move forward quicker. It helped us to dream bigger, right? And to do what we want to do. So I just hope that that we will keep, you and me at least, we will keep that spirit of 80s and 90s
keep the spirit
action movies alive.
And basically, you kind of, in a way, became like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I don't know if it was, so people call you the Russian Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I think your first book is How to Be Arnold Schwarzenegger in Russia, which is an awesome title, obviously inspired by Conan the Destroyer and Pumping Iron and everything else. But the people in these movies, though, they shape my life, your life, a lot of people's lives. Like, I go to the gym, for example, because I'm into lifting and martial arts. And, like the kid at the front desk told me, "Oh, hey, people talk about you." I said, "Oh, cool. What do they say?" He said, "Oh, they want to be able to do what you can do." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome," because watching all these movies, I wanted to be kind of like, Van Damme in Bloodsport, or in Cyborg, or Stallone and Cobra, kind of like that type of person. In real life. Now, obviously, I'm not fighting in secret underground tournaments or anything, but just to kind of look the part and be able to move the part in real life is almost like a real life action hero, where people can aspire to do that. You can't aspire to put on a cape and fly around your neighborhood like Superman. That you can't aspire to that. That's just make believe. At least with these movies and what you're doing, keeping the spirit alive, it's like people could aspire. Hey, look at Alexander. Let me go to the gym and so I could like him and Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
You're right, and I think everyone who watch your website and who watch your videos, they also understand that you can be in a good shape, you can have muscles, but also you can move. You can move like martial artists, which is amazing thing too.
Athletic.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing, and I can see your cat, walking around behind you and all of that. And
He's all over the place. And then let me ask you,
what
because
is
I know
his
you
name?
said
What is his name? What is his name?
That is Jean-Pierre. Kind of
Jean-Pierre.
I didn't want to call him Jean-Claude, but I figure I'll call him Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre, great name. Yeah, sorry I interrupted you. Cool cat, please go on.
Sure. He's a cool cat. And then, so I know you mentioned you're going to do more Westerns. What else do you have on the docket for future films? Because somebody had said you were going to do a Serious Sam live action movie based on that video game. Is that true?
There's a lot of people, especially in Europe and Eastern Europe, because, Serious Sam, it was kind of like Eastern European answer to Wolfenstein, to Doom, and all of that. And for some strange reason in Eastern Europe, and especially in ex-USSR, it was a very popular game. I missed that because I was already in the United States, and I'm a huge game player. I love all the Doom
Oh,
movies
sure.
or all games or Wolfenstein or Call of Duty, but for some reason I missed Serious Sam. But the funny thing is, when my friends started to send me, I think it was during the pandemic when we were all in our houses suddenly,
Mhm.
right? And everyone was only on internet, whatever. They started to send me like screenshots of me in the character,
Okay.
and I think, yeah, and I think the guys who created the game, they kind of used the stereotypical Arnold kind of guy, big, short hair, kind of with a face like that. But it was also me
Mhm.
who was looking like that.
Yeah,
So
no doubt.
they started to send me like screenshots, and they started to send me all of that. I cannot tell you that I'm thinking about that project seriously, because to be honest with you, for example, Andrzej Bartkovic, he
Mhm.
did
The
Doom
Doom. Yeah.
adaptation. Yes, he did Street Fighter. He did Street Fighter after that. Uwe Boll did a lot of films based on games. It's just what I think it's really hard to satisfy all the game players, because everyone, when you play it, you have your own idea about the character.
True.
Basically, you think it's you,
Mhm.
right? So it's really
Yeah.
hard to see someone else to play it, whatever. What I can do serious Nevsky instead of serious Sam. Serious Nevsky, you know,
Okay.
about kind of like almost me doing something. Suddenly, can you imagine? Suddenly, me. I woke up in Beverly Hills, and there's no more world as we know it, and I have to figure out what to do. Something like that. Kind of like a dark comedy slash action would be interesting. But to make a video game adaptation, I don't think I will have fun doing it. To be honest with
Mm.
you.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.